We're now with the State Fair Board, and we have Buck Dozier here with us. Buck, if you could introduce yourself and your colleagues, and then maybe tell us how the last year's been and talk about where your budget is.
Yes, Buck Dozier, Executive Director, State Fairgrounds. To my left is our new board chair, Ned Horton. He was just elected the chairman of our board, and he'll be doing his first full meeting in April. So he's with us today. To my right is Ken Sanders. Ken really worked with us on our budget. You normally have seen Howell Towns here, Mr. Mayor, for forever. He's retiring, and he's retiring during the budget process, which was good timing for him. And so Ken jumped in big time. Ken's done enough budgets over the years, as many as anybody in Metro at this point.
Yeah, well, very good.
So we were glad to have him from that standpoint.
Thank you, Ken.
His replacement, full-time replacement, should be in place mid-April. So we'll have another full-time budget person there.
Good. And Ned, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw Katie Varney the other day, and I congratulated her too. So I don't know. Go ahead, Buck.
A couple of points of emphasis as we begin. I think the stabilization out there of the site has helped tremendously. The last 2 years, we've been able to cut substantially some of our net losses we've had. We have increased our revenues with the maximum study. We came in. We did increase our revenues, our rates this year in that area. We instituted in January a $5 parking fee, which has worked out very well for us, and I'll mention that in just a few moments. The other thing that has been good for us this time of year, from December, January, February, which is normally our slow time, because of the good weather, we are up tremendously. In booth rent, for example, in the flea market, we're up $83,000 plus, and in parking, we're up $81,000 because of the good weather we've been able to have, which normally is our low time. I might mention to you too, and we projected our parking revenues, which is up over what we projected. We had nothing to base it on because we had not done that before except in the flea market. And when we started charging the $5 in January, it has been a lifesaver from a number of standpoints.
Do you charge for every event now? Or?
We do, and everything is, as I say to people, we're the cheapest in town. Only the zoo and the fairgrounds charge the least for events. So it's worked out very well, and our people are doing extremely well in learning to park people and learning to get people in expeditiously and so forth. So they're doing a great job.
How many parking places do you have?
We can do 5,000. Now that's with the use of the lower part where it's around the creek, and also using the racetrack. We can park 5,000 people. Outside those two venues, we can usually park about half that, maybe getting toward 3,000 cars in a normal event. There are about 6 events during the year that require almost everything we've got. So, or at least the lower part anyway. So, parking is lawn and garden show, the flea markets, every flea market, and the Christmas Village is huge. And there's one other that I can think of off the top of my head that take up just about everything we've got, and we have multiple events. 2 weeks ago we had 5 events going on the same weekend, so it required some expansion in terms of where we park people and so forth. At that point, Mayor, I'll let you ask any questions, or Rich or Greg, either one.
How the flea market? You're up on booth bookings, 83,000.
Almost 82,000 on booth rentals, and parking 83,000. Yes, sir.
Okay, and
that's from January.
From January.
I'm sorry, from July to February.
Okay, and so the flea market attendance has been good.
It's been very good. In fact, we just had it this past weekend. I haven't got the numbers yet. In every other month this year and this calendar year, we are up over the previous year. In retention of vendors, in having new vendors come to us. We lost some, of course, during a period of time, but it's held very good. And again, the weather is always a factor in flea markets, and that's held well for us this year. But everybody kind of feels a little better. Things are stabilized and so forth, and they're feeling much better. So they've come back to us, and the public is really stayed with us.
Good.
Attendance is very good.
And the Christmas Village, good attendance this year?
Out the roof. I don't remember exactly the number. This was their biggest year.
Good. And lawn and garden, is that coming?
They had an extremely good year. We had a $93,000 with what we charged them and with our parking. We had a $93,000 weekend.
Good.
For that.
Is there any pushback on the parking when you implemented that?
A little bit, not a whole lot. A couple of our parking people heard some names they hadn't heard before, but generally that was only they would estimate only about 2%. And once people find out why we're doing it, that it helps pay for the buildings and the upkeep and the pavement and everything else that we're trying to do out there to keep our place in good order, they generally accept it. And so, and the other thing we tell them is we're still the cheapest in town. So
yeah, that's a good.
That helps.
It beats $20.
It does. It is.
And what about the track? How's that going in terms of?
Well, they haven't had a race yet. The race is coming up in April. However, to Mr. Formosa's credit, he seems to be putting together the best package I've seen in a long time. He's up in his parking revenues in terms of parking the event, the race cars and so forth. All those have been sold. I think he sold all the billboards, which hadn't been done in a long time. He's got more cars in, I know, the first race than they've had in years. So he has gone into it full force, and the team that he's put together seems to be the best team we've had over there in a long time.
Okay, and the neighborhood issues and going into this year, is that?
We meet once a month with them. The sound issue, we'll be measuring sound this year in the practice times before the 7 races that they're going to have. But we meet monthly during the racing season with the neighborhood, and so last year it went extremely well. And actually, Mr. Formosa reached out to them before we actually set the meeting. He's already had a breakfast meeting with some of the people, and so
they like him quite a bit.
They do. He's paid attention to them.
Good. Now, in your budget, the 2% cut would represent $54,200. What would that mean for you?
Actually, just cutting expenses, trying to cut around, not people. It's dealing with our electric, our painting, our upkeep, maintenance. Basically, is where that would hit those categories in maintenance.
Okay, and then the improvements requested. What does that represent?
The improvements, our budget, our what we have left in our reserve fund, we're estimating that to make it for us to come out even in 12 and 13, we would need a supplement of $245,000.
Right, and can you explain the reserve fund?
The reserve fund now has $724,781 in it, and that's our Metro Investment Pool. We're estimating at the end of next year we would have about $360,000. With the 245, we believe we'll come out even.
Okay. Rich?
Right. So, to put it in layman's terms, so this is the first year you've actually are requesting a city subsidy from some city sources other than your self-funded entity.
That is correct.
Historically, you've been able to run from operations of your operation revenue and fund balance. And so the fund balance will be gone, and so you're requesting an actual appropriation from the city of $245,000.
That is correct, and let me say this, and I didn't say it in the opening remarks. Staff has done an extremely good job of dealing with our cost out there the last 2 years. We've been able to lower it at the same time, and being able to add some revenue enhancements that we're able to do. Hopefully, we can make it break even eventually without having to ask for a supplement, but at this time subsidy, but this time we believe for 12 and 13 we need that, sir.
And which Maximus?
Did you implement any of the Maximus recommendations?
The Maximus study as it was so the numbers that they wanted us to increase fee-wise was just absolutely beyond what we thought, given the overall environment out there, that we could handle. We did increase the rates in every building. We increased our rental equipment, chairs, tables, etc. If you ask me, did we increase every building 10% or 12 or 15%? No, we took each building and looked at it, and in terms of its use, its popularity, the condition it's in, and so forth, and what we thought we could get by with asking our vendors to pay. We also now are in heavy competition with some of our contiguous counties on them trying to get our vendors and our shows and so forth. So factoring all of that in, we came out with numbers that we thought would be palatable for those vendors and event show people who would want to use our facilities this year. That's how we came to that conclusion.
She's speaking strictly of the expo center.
Right.
Flea market was implemented. That was the other.
Flea market increases were put in.
100%.
Yeah, they were.
On the flea market.
So
It was the
I mean,
expo center part that was difficult.
I mean, arguably, if you had implemented all the Maximus studies, you would have been to a break-even proposition. Now, your theory is, and your belief is not really theory, but you're thinking that you would have lost business if you had done that.
Absolutely, we would have run away business, and it would have been worse in the long run. Now, our plans are and one of the things that when I got there, they hadn't done over the years, Rich, was to increase rates incrementally over a period of time. And they waited for so long that all of a sudden I had to do it, which I needed to do, but the sticker shock would have been.
How do the other expo centers, are we competitive now still in terms of the rates? Is it?
Some of the two venues particularly really cut the rates in half or more so than what we were charging to get people in. We don't believe, and neither do those vendors, that they'll sustain that number, because it was a way to get them there.
Right.
But that over the long haul, for them to pay their way, they're going to have to charge those people more. This, so far, the present shows we've got, events we've got, our people seem to be staying with us at this point. Now, we lost a few, and we're working to get them back. And Steve Burton works at it all day, trying to get some of those people back.
I would think that our location would be a great.
Between two interstates, absolutely, and that's one of the things that we hear from our event people and vendors. It's the location.
And also, I would think, actually, with the new convention center, the increased number of visitors to the city, if there are events at the fairgrounds that have appeal to anybody who's in town for whatever large convention, it's another potential source of business.
We hope so, and I think the flea market, especially in the weekend that people are here, will push that with those shows. I mean, with those events that come to the new center.
What kind of subsidy do your competitors get from their
Local government, you know?
It's a good question, and it's across the board. And we've only looked at, I haven't looked at the Sumner County and Wilson County particularly as lately, but across the board nationwide, it's a myriad of different things. Everybody talks to me about Louisville, and the state of Kentucky used to supplement that big, where.
Yeah, you drive by on the interstate.
And then they dropped it for a long time. My understanding, maybe they're trying to bring some of it back, but Rich, it's across the board.
Louisville got 16.
Yeah, Louisville got 6, that's right. And so it's hard to determine. I'd almost have to tell you each one of them individually to tell you how it works.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But does Sumner and Wilson, do they subsidize their operations?
Yes, they do. Excuse me, Wilson they do, Sumner they do not. In particular, that the new building they have up there that was a warehouse that they've converted for a flea market and a gun show, they advertise quite a bit now. That's an independent dealer. That's not supplemented by government there. Wilson is.
Greg?
Buck, how much of the, do you know off the top of your head, how much of the reserve we will have accessed by the end of this fiscal year? Or last fiscal year, either one?
This year it would be as of, yes, sir. As of February the 29th, 724, I believe he's estimating 500 and something, 60,000, isn't that right? 560.
557, 564.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty close.
that will be for this current fiscal year,
Yes.
what we've accessed out of the reserves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you know the previous year by chance?
I do.
Okay.
The previous year was, what do you got?
Close to 9.
Yeah, it's close to $1 million.
Okay.
Close to 898. So
Okay.
It was about $1 million
it was
for
good.
many years in a row.
It was over $1 million for years.
Okay.
Ned, you got any thoughts or?
No, I mean, it's been a roller coaster,
Yeah.
different changes coming and going, but I think Buck's done a great job, and the staff is really fucked up under his leadership. Remains to be seen what ultimately happens out there with the facility, but making the best do with what we've got and trying to make,
Excuse me.
go ahead, trying to make the best decisions possible based on the landscape.
I just might mention to you that the master plan is not yet finalized. I was told by Ann Hammonds that it should be in place by the mid-April, and then there'll be a concluding date, which they'll tell me what those are eventually.
Yeah,
There's 2 different phases of the master plan, so that's still hanging out there.
okay. Good, well, thank you. Good report, and thank you for Ned, thank you for serving. I think for the public audience, Metro has a lot of boards and commissions that people are paid nothing. I was going to say very little, actually paid nothing, and do a lot of work. And I know the Fair Board, has had a lot of work to do, and I appreciate what you've done, what you're doing now, and what all the different members of the board are doing. And Buck, I certainly appreciate your work, and appreciate you stepping in, helping out here at this point. So, thank you very much.